To begin with, I have this perspective that time is not really money, but instead time is growth. Now, why is that? It's simple. You look at some of the richest people in the world and it's very obvious. You'll notice one thing. They're always learning and they're always growing. Now, yes, their motive might be money, but most of their time they're spending learning and growing. Although I want to impersonate the people I want to become, there's an even stronger reason for why I really believe in this. It's simple. I'm a broke young adult with no money to my name. So how does this philosophy help with that? I keep making use of my time by learning and growing myself. And eventually, I know the money will come. But here's the beautiful part of this ideology. When the money does come, am I going to stop learning? Well, no. Because for me, time is growth, not money. And we don't really ever stop growing, do we? I also believe that time is both objective and subjective, which means, yes, I'm spending most of my time learning and growing and putting myself in uncomfortable situations. But there's also times where I just stop and appreciate the moment for whatever it is. I've realized this is especially important because a lot of what I do involves a lot of creativity. And I believe that for creativity, you really need to take a second, recover, recoup, and then bounce back. Otherwise, it can get exhausting. Me being someone that's always struggled with perfectionism, and yes, it can really be a struggle sometimes, I've always found myself in situations where I do not finish something in the allotted time for it. And yes, by no means is that acceptable, but I'm not going to lie, it does happen. And what I usually do is I have to remind myself that it's all right. Now, if you are someone that struggles with the same sort of thing, then I've got 3 points for you that really help me out with this. Point number 1, manage your expectations. Before I allot time for any of my tasks, I really assess whether or not it's actually possible to finish this task in that time. And sometimes I do realize that some tasks might take more time than I've actually allotted for them. In that case, beforehand itself, I remind myself that it's okay, take a breather, just keep going at it even after the time that you've allotted for it is done and complete as much as you can with it, one step at a time. Now, point number 2 that's very closely related to the previous point is fixed and flexible tasks. Sometimes there are unforeseen circumstances where you cannot really do anything about things that probably disrupt your schedule or the time allotted to a specific task. Well, something that I do that helps is before I set any task, I decide whether it's a flexible task or a fixed task. So, for me, for example, going to the gym could be a flexible task. Now, yes, although I go to the gym every day, there are days where there might be an overload in work and I accordingly adapt. Either I go to the gym sooner, I finish my workout faster, or sometimes I just skip gym. So that's an example of a flexible task that can be moved around depending on other tasks. Now, the last point that really helps me is embracing the imperfections. A lot of times I just get lost in what I'm doing and lose track of time completely. When these situations happen, I think to myself, would I rather stress about not being able to complete the task in time, or would I just think about what is the next possible flexible task that I could move around and adapt to the situation? Okay, now let's talk about technology and time. I've got something really interesting here. A lot of boomers and baby boomers call us out for not being able to manage time, being too distracted, always on social media, all of that bullshit. If you think about it, to some extent, it's not really our fault. We didn't ask for social media to be created in this generation. We didn't ask for the dopamine spikes that social media gives us. Nor did we ask for the short form content that might or might not be reducing our attention span. But here's the thing. I'm a firm believer in the fact that modern problems require modern solutions. So here's 2 solutions that I found out really work for me. To start off, Instagram is at the tip of all of our fingertips. I sometimes catch myself scrolling through reels endlessly and completely lose track of time. But here's the thing. A lot of us probably already know of this, but we don't use it to our favor. At least I didn't. And that is the manipulation of the algorithm to our favor. So let me give you an example to explain what do I mean by this. During my football phase, where I'd be injured for whatever duration of time, I would open Instagram quite often. But here's the thing, I would open Instagram and look for strengthening or rehab or just motivational content. Now, I would intentionally look up for this. And if there was content that was not aligning to these three ideas, then I would just do the option where you can click on a post, show that you're not interested in it, and Instagram will stop showing you content of that sort. And guess what? Before you know it, my feed, my reels, my suggestions, all of it was just filled with either strengthening stuff, rehab stuff, or just psychological motivational stuff for athletes in specific. Something that I've also realized really helps is having a second account in which you just follow the accounts that's content you want to watch or the type of content that you want to watch. And whenever you open that account, it's just going to be filled with that type of content. Now, solution number 2. I open WhatsApp quite often. It's almost like it happens with instinct. And a lot of times I barely receive any messages either. It just happens. So here's a hack that I found related to time management and opening WhatsApp. So before, I would use Notion for my daily tasks and my to-do list and all of that. But having an Android phone, the shortcuts and all of that, it just didn't make sense. And it was too many steps. So I adapted to using WhatsApp as my daily to-do list tracker. How did I do it? I just created a dummy chat. In my case, it was my dad's old number. You can even text yourself on WhatsApp or just put some random number. Again, be careful with this. But yeah, I created a random chat and every day the night before, I would send in my tasks to do for the next day. Now, the next day, when I would find myself unnecessarily opening up WhatsApp, I would just go to that chat and I would look at what I have to get done and I would just get to it. Yeah, that's something that really helped me with cracking the repetitive cycle of just opening WhatsApp randomly. So another thing that has really helped me with time management is being independent. What do I mean by being independent? So, for example, let me tell you from personal experience. Before, for a long time, I would travel through public transportation like bus and metro to get to places. Or a lot of times, I would even borrow my friends' gadis. Thank you, boys. But the big problem with all of this was I didn't have any control of how and where I got to where I had to get. Like buses getting delayed or missing the metro or my friend's dad taking his gadi. But something changed. Fortunately enough, I am privileged and very grateful for my parents who bought me a two-wheeler. And that has completely changed things because now I have complete control of when I reach where and how and all of that. And yes, there is Bangalore traffic, but if that's a reason for getting late anywhere, then that's just on me. The point I'm trying to make is don't be dependent on anyone or anything when it comes to your time. Because it's difficult to get control of our own time. And on top of that, there's external factors that we have no control over. And then to bring another person into the picture and expect them to function on your time and your wavelength, that's just unfair. And no, I definitely can't blame them because that's just how things are. Now, the last thought I want to plant in all of your heads before this video is something I've been repeatedly saying to myself for a lot of time now. Quite often in life, a lot of older people have told us that time goes by just like that. And before you know it, you're old and grey. Now, what I want us to do is ask ourselves 20, 30 or even 40 years down the line, if we make it that far, are we going to be asking and telling ourselves and our future generation the same thing? Or are we actually going to do something about the time we have right now? That's it for this video, guys. I don't want to occupy any more of your time. So get on with your day. I hope you have a blissful day. But wait up. Just before you go, listen to me. A lot of times I've noticed just to save time, I try to do a lot of multitasking. And a lot of times on some days, I do believe it's important. And unavoidable, although science says otherwise. Like I said though, modern problems, modern solutions. And so, the next video is going to be about multitasking and the things that work for me and the things that don't. And maybe they could help you too. So stick around for the next video. And as always, if you gained any value from this video, please like, share and subscribe. Not gonna lie, a little bit of dopamine spike really gets me motivated and inspired to create more such content that might or might not help someone someday. Alright then, until next video, bye.